Welcome to episode number 165 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We are recording live on YouTube on November 18, 2016. Plenty of things to talk about. We're hoping not to talk about politics, but fake news enters into the conversation, so talk about it we must. I am David Erickson. I'm with my co-host, B.L. Achman. The topics this week include screw you, Zuckerberg, be careful what you don't say, technology cautionary tales, partying founding fathers, BMW Films returns, your fake news future, the Internet of Cows, Presidential Shopping Network, LinkedIn Audience Insights, Google Sunroof, and BL always starts it off with the worst story of the week. BL, what was that?
God, there were so many. The one I chose to start with is the New York Police Department took a Rutgers professor into Bellevue for a psych evaluation because of a political tweet. This is from a story by Joel Del Signor at Gothamist, but it was all over the news in New York anyway. And this Rutgers professor named Kevin Allred lives in Brooklyn, and he made some political comments in class and on Twitter about conservatives, Trump, and gun control. And the next thing he knows, he's an adjunct professor at the New Brunswick, New Jersey campus of Rutgers, and the next thing he knows, he gets a knock on his apartment door, and the police officers told him that Rutgers administrators had contacted them because of statements he made on campus and on Twitter. He says after the election, he had a discussion in class about whether conservatives would be so committed to the Second Amendment if more white people were killed by gun violence. And he also said that in class, he talked about flag burning as a form of protest and what does the flag mean to different people, and asked the class for their reactions and what they thought about that type of protest. And then after the election, he tweeted, "Rutgers, did you send out an email addressing the fears of many Rutgers University students for their safety in Trump's America yet? Did I miss it?" Which seems kind of innocuous. And they said to him, "You can refuse, but if you don't come with us, we'll take you by force." And they kept saying, "You're not under arrest, but if you don't go with us, we're going to take you by force." And he tweeted, "The NYPD came to my house because Rutgers police told them I am a threat based on political statements I made on campus and on Twitter." And then about an hour later, he said, "Okay, they let me leave. This is a shit show and is proof that Trump's crackdown on free speech has absolutely begun." And folks, we ain't seen nothing yet.
It's pretty scary. There's some free speech implications with this, and this is a tangled story. But Mark Zuckerberg came out in the face of criticism that Facebook's algorithm played a role in the election of Donald Trump, and said basically that was silly. Well, screw you, Mark Zuckerberg. It's not silly. The only thing that is silly is you saying it is silly. Eli Parzer wrote a book called The Filter Bubble back in 2011. And basically made the point that people now have the technology to just get the information that agrees with their worldview. Well, now that was theory back then. Now we've seen it in action. There's a lot of factors, many factors that led to Trump's electoral college victory, but to dismiss Facebook's role as silly is itself silly. You start with a candidate who openly courted hate groups. They feel empowered. Hate's a powerfully motivating emotion. The Breitbarts and the Stormfronts of the world understand how Facebook's newsfeed algorithm favors engagement. They also understand that people respond to emotionally charged headlines. And they further understand how Facebook's advertising works to target audiences that are most likely to engage with their articles. And they use that knowledge to boost engagements via Facebook advertising, then let the newsfeed take over, the newsfeed algorithm take over to promote it organically. It's not just hate groups that understand how this works, the gaming of Facebook's algorithms. There's kids in other countries who are putting up fake news sites and using Facebook's advertising to drive traffic to their sites to earn money from advertising. the Washington Post interviewed a guy who runs parody sites like The Onion and was posting articles with insane headlines that he thought everyone would take for the satire it was. But then he complained that some Trump supporters just don't fact check. They were sharing his articles as the real thing. He's afraid that he contributed to the election of Trump himself, and he hates Trump. Trump himself has credited Facebook and Twitter for his victory, according to Next Web article by Mix. Facebook had a chance to deal with this. We've talked about this before, a chance to deal with this before the election, but they caved to conservatives, according to a Gizmodo article by Michael Nunez. And then they fired their human editors for the news feed, for the trending topics. But Facebook now actually has an incentive to do something about it because major advertisers are being targeted with fake news. This is from a Vox article by Matthew Iglesias. Pepsi is being boycotted by Trump supporters because of a fake news story that said its CEO told Trump supporters to take their business elsewhere, which he never said. She never said, sorry. So in addition to it being a disaster for democracy, the algorithm is a new public relations problem many of us are going to need to deal with. But again, satire sites, if Facebook changes its algorithm to get rid of these fake news sites, they run the risk of getting rid of satire sites like The Onion as well. So there is a free speech implication in this story, but to say that Facebook didn't have a role in Trump's election is ridiculous. I'm working on a longer article about many different factors that I'll include in the show notes if I finish it in time.
Well, the thing is, it's here to stay, and we have a president-elect who doesn't fact check his tweets. And so his story that he told, his outright lie that he told about how he's keeping Ford from closing a plant and sending that to Mexico, that plant was never going to close. And once he says it, and all those people pick up on it, and all the bots pick up on it, because he has a huge network, hundreds of thousands of bots, tweets going out over and over and over, like something like 2,500 a minute. And the big problem, we've talked about this a lot, on Twitter, a problem is definitely that people are not made to use their real name. And on Facebook, it is just that, we are in an echo chamber. We do listen to people who have our views, but the stuff that comes up as news there, nobody checks on it. They just spread it. And I did one last week myself. And, I got yelled at, but, and I do check, and I triple check, but, sometimes they just get you because it looks so legitimate. That's really the issue. And, these sites are built just for the purpose of being landing pages for these stories. This is like an industry. This is not going away.
Yeah, but there are ways of dealing with it. There are things that you can implement to deal with it. Facebook earns money from people spending advertising promoting these fake stories. So there's also an incentive for them not to do something about it. But
take a look at hashtag boycott Pepsi and see what's happened with that.
That's what I'm saying. When the advertisers start having to deal with this crap, that's maybe gives them more of an incentive to do something.
So along those lines, and really this is along those lines, Adobe's working on an audio app that lets you add words that someone never said, or lets someone add words that you never said. This is from an article in The Verge by Nick Statt, and Adobe's calling it the audio equivalent of Photoshop. And basically what happens is it understands the makeup of your voice, and it can replicate it as long as it has about 20 minutes of your recorded speech. And they demonstrated this last week at, I think, the Max conference. And then what they can do is they can take words and full sentences and edit them and add with astounding accuracy your voice in your natural speaking voice. And with, the use of it is that in voiceovers, dialogues, this show, sometimes you misspeak and you often want to insert or change a word or a few words because you made a mistake, or, you want to change that part of the story or something. But they call it Project Voco, and you simply type in the words that you want to change or insert into the voiceover, and the algorithm does the rest. And the creepy part is it totally 100% is you cannot tell the fake part from the real part, and the potential for harm is hair-raising. really.
I mean, you think about it, it's just audio signals in digital format are just information, and if you can, create the algorithm to replicate a timbre of voice and in speech patterns and recognize those patterns, then there's no reason why you can't replicate it. We're getting to the point where with machine vision and audio recognition technology, where you'll be able to Hollywood will be able to bring back Humphrey Bogart and have an entirely new story with starring Humphrey Bogart.
Well, the other night, Jimmy Kimmel showed this guy who got a Trump tattoo, and he said, you might think it's funny now, but pretty soon we're all going to have to get them. It's not funny. Okay, so we'll talk about better news in a minute, but right after the 60-minute show with the entire Trump family, which was a major overdose of Trumps, Ivanka Trump's Ivanka Trump's company sent to all the fashion editors. She said, if you want to get the $800 bracelet that Ivanka was wearing, here's the link to it. And every one of the fashion editors just about put that on Twitter. And, she ended up having to apologize. Oh, it was, they blamed it on an intern or whatever the hell they did. But, get ready. The Trump shopping network's coming.
Are we on to better stuff?
God, I hope so. I'm getting depressed, and I've been very depressed for the last week. Let's go on to better stuff.
I just finished season 3, and if you haven't been watching, everybody needs to watch this show. Season 3 of Black Mirror on Netflix. It is especially for people dealing in technology. It is a fabulous program. The stories are amazing.
I keep hearing about it.
But they're cautionary tales about technology that are all very plausible, which is why they're amazing. Well done as in terms of fiction, but very much cautionary tales about technology and the negative implications of them. There's season 3 includes a story about social media as a class system that has real life implications for credit and that stuff. Virtual reality as hyper reality. There's a story about high-tech blackmail, digital immortality, and hacked swarm drones. It's just I just encourage everybody to watch it because it does make you think about, we're all very pro technology in many senses of the word, but you can't be that without thinking about the negative aspects as well. So
God, really? Well, I mean, did you see what happened on Facebook's algorithm last week when all of a sudden everybody was dead, including Zuckerberg?
Yeah, I was hoping to get that message, but I didn't.
Yeah, well, they're all back. But one thing that I think was good news was Saturday night. I wondered, how is Saturday Night Live going to play this election result? And when Kate McKinnon sang Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, and it was so beautiful, and she was almost in tears, and she did it in the Hillary Clinton character that she's played all along, and she turned around and she said, I'm not giving up, and neither should you. That was the first time I felt good. After the election. But, this whole thing with politics is really not anything new. I read, this is such a great, this is a video from Great Big Story, and they just do such wonderful things. But according to them, this thing about 6 awesome American stories, and in it was one that said that our founding fathers were pretty much smashed all the time, like many of us were on election eve. And also many of our founding fathers were firefighters. And they also, among the people that, that they show, the tailor to all presidents since Eisenhower, and he's with all these awesome Americans. But there's a guy who has ginormous statues of 43 U.S. presidents who can be seen from space. And as far as them being as far as the founding fathers being drunk and being firemen, apparently Ben Franklin was one of the drunkest of them all. But did you know that he was also our founding fireman, creating fire departments to protect towns from fires? So I'm going to post that video because it's hilarious.
A great civic pillar of American democracy, Ben Franklin was. He also had the quote that beer is proof that God wants us to be happy.
Well, and this is proof that the more things change, the more they stay the same, isn't it?
Yep. So BMW Films, do you remember that,
That
BL?
was great. Oh yeah, that was the first great thing online.
BMW, yeah, BMW Films. I
The
remember
kidnapping, right?
I wrote about it when it debuted in 2001.
Hmm.
It was one of the first high-profile examples of online content marketing. It was short films by high-profile directors featuring A-list stars with storylines centered around, of course, BMW cars. Well, it's coming back, or it has come back. This is from an Ad Age article by E.J. Schultz. The series when it debuted, the original series, when it debuted in 2011, earned more than 100 million views at bmwfilms.com, which was a huge success considering in the pre-YouTube days. But they brought the series back. The cast includes Clive Owen, pronounce that correctly, who starred in the original and is reprising his role as the driver in the new series, which is called The Escape. Also on board are Dakota Fanning, John Bernthal, Vera Farmiga. I don't even know how to pronounce this. I don't know who this person is.
Wasn't the first one called The Escape, Dave?
The first one was called The Drive, I think. Dakota
But it
Fanning.
had a kidnapping in it. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. Dakota Fanning on September 15 posted an Instagram picture of herself as a teaser sitting in the back of a car driven by Clive Owen and calling it an upcoming secret project with a mysterious driver. That post generated 29,000 likes, which is a nice way of teasing that. There's a YouTube video on the series that has earned 4.9 million views. You can watch the series at bmwfilms.com. So very cool. Like to see that back, and that's actually the original was done, and the follow up is being done by Fallon, which is a Minneapolis ad agency. So
that was I always wondered why it went away because it was so cool, and
so cool. Yep.
it was also expensive, I guess,
Right.
back in those days. But right before the election, Benedict Cumberbatch read James Corden, The Tale of the 2016 Election. And, it was funny until the outcome of the election. But we'll post the video in case you missed it because it's quite adorable. And in it, James Corden is a little boy, and he's asking Benedict Cumberbatch to read him a bedtime story, and his daddy reads him the story of the 2016 election. And in that story, there's a lady who wears all tan clothes, pantsuits, and she's going through the forest and she's trying to get to this big, beautiful white house. But there are 17 monsters in the forest, including a big orange one. And the big orange one eats all of the other ones. And James Corden says, "Daddy, what was orange, his face or his hair?" And Daddy says, "Strangely enough, both." And so this goes on, and finally, he says, "Well, we don't know what will happen yet." And so then James Corden is under the covers, and he says, "Daddy, is the big orange monster going to come and grab me in the night?" And his father says, "Of course not." And he takes out his stuffed cat, and he says, "But will it grab my pussy?"
God.
That was the last time we could laugh about this. Do you have another one?
I do. Nothing, no transition there. The Internet of Cows. That's what I'm going to say. The Internet of Cows. This is from a Quartz article by Ananya Bhattacharya. I think it's about how you pronounce it. I probably pronounced it incorrectly. Anyway, it can be hard for humans to tell that a cow is ill until there's visible signs of sickness, but sensors can pick up and report changes even before there are physical symptoms. So there's an Australian startup named Samex Tech that has sensors that can be placed in cows' stomachs to transmit health data over Wi-Fi. Each sensor is about the size of a hot dog, can track minute-by-minute data about stuff like the temperature of the cow, the pH of its stomach, movement and activity. They can identify when the animal's in heat. They can predict whether or not a cow is pregnant with 95% accuracy, and that would let farmers know to take advantage of the increased milk production prior to calving. The sensors have a roughly 4-year battery life. It's inserted into the first of the 4 stomachs through a cow's throat using metal rod. Years ago, the Minnesota Vikings used pill-sized sensors for its players to monitor body heat during summer practices to avoid heat stroke. which killed Vikings tackle Corey Stringer in 2001. So this is an agricultural version of that, basically. So very cool.
Well, I think you know I'm a total bovomaniac, so
Right.
anything that has to do with cows makes me very happy. And if it, it tells them when to call the vet, and they can take care of the cows and keep them healthy. I like that. So talking about being healthy, Google has something called Project Sunroof, and this is from the Google blog, a post by Carl Elkin, and they've been helping homeowners explore whether they should go solar. And they're offering, they've been giving estimates for more than 43 million houses across 42 states. And this week they launched a new data explorer tool to enable estimates for entire communities as well, in addition to individual homes. And they do that by leveraging 3D rooftop geometry from Google Earth to estimate the solar potential in the rooftops of America. And so communities, cities, municipalities can visualize how many of their rooftops are suitable for solar installation, how much power they could collectively generate, and how much carbon could be displaced by deploying rooftop solar at scale. And the potential reports can be shared among community members and researchers and policymakers directly from the tool. So anybody can use the tool. It's free, and they simply enter a state, a county, a city, or a zip code, and then they start to get custom analysis. So I think that's pretty cool.
Well, that coupled with, Elon Musk just recently introduced his solar rooftops technology that he says is going to be less expensive than an actual rooftop. So if that's the case, expect architects to start building solar rooftops in the not too distant future. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Do you have another one, Dave?
I don't. I'm all out of...
Well, back to fake news. Facebook and Twitter are joining with Google to filter out fake news, and they have a Google backs this thing called First Draft Coalition. This is from an Engadget story by Mariella Moon. Excuse me. And it was announced in June 2015, along with YouTube Newswire, which we talked about at that time. And YouTube Newswire was basically trying to vet the accuracy of stories before they were posting videos. And it's a curated collection of verified eyewitness videos covering events. And it will help journalists and partner publications, but it can also help individual users who want to verify stories. So it's a daily destination site where you can source and report stories from social media and find out whether they're true. And and if you want to find the best way to get eyewitness media when a story breaks, you can get that. There's efficient ways to verify what you find, how you approach and credit social sources, and if there's a way to if there's a hoax or a rumor, it'll tell you how to stop it. And it's apparently trying to do this while allowing you to remain commercially competitive. And those are just some of the questions that First Draft Coalition is established to address. But you will find features, news, reviews, case studies, analysis, free training resources for use in the newsroom. And anybody can sign up. You can become a member of the community and make them, the most of the features. You can save articles and resources, create your own first draft news scrapbook. I think it's a very cool idea, and you can create packs of your favorite items on First Draft News, share it with colleagues and students and subscribers. You can add any number of pages to your packs and give each one a little description for quick reference in the future. You can have your say by adding a comment, and you just sign up with your email address and you get a regular roundup of the latest posts on the site.
Well, Google has had some problems itself with fake news getting into
Everybody
search
has
results, but they are best positioned to understand what is fake news and what is not. They actually have been battling against people gaming their algorithm for a long time.
At least they try,
and they understand what facts are, and they understand citation systems. That's their whole algorithm is built on the idea of citations. Facebook's algorithm is optimized for promoting stuff that people are engage with, regardless of whether it's true or not.
Right.
So, so I think it's a good sign hopefully Google can lend some of its technology to weeding out it on the other platforms.
You know, the problem is that fake news is here to stay, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. And as you pointed out, it's soon to be a big problem for PR to solve. And,
Right.
you know, that's just coming. I mean, that's going to happen over and over. But the other thing that I thought was pretty good news was Twitter gave the first annual Twitter Awards honors for marketers who they thought made the best use of Twitter. And this is from a Twitter blog and also Ad Age story. And the Twitter blog says the awards recognize the marketers, the idea people, the innovators, and the creators all over the world who work tirelessly to create ingenious campaigns. And they posted them on Thursday. And they're the answer to Facebook's annual awards, which and they offer some insight into what people respond to. So it's worth taking a look at the things. But my favorite was Dove's self-esteem campaign called Dear Media that had the hashtag My Beauty, My Say. And it called out the media's sexist view of women athletes, and it encouraged women to tell the media to stop judging female athletes by their looks. And it had has had more than 328 million comments since April when it launched. And it focuses on 9 real women who don't conform to traditional beauty standards, including Elizabeth Acevedo, the author of a spoken word piece called Hair, and the androgynous model Rain Dove, and boxer Heather Hardy. And she says, you know, I'm told like you're too pretty to be a boxer. And so related to that is Dove's Have Your Say, and they had a tweet campaign to get the campaign going, and it's still going, and it's very successful. And I just loved it, and I love that Twitter, you know, reached out to them.
What is a wonder is that Twitter didn't do this years ago. I mean,
there's a lot of things that you have to
obvious.
wonder about why Twitter didn't do them years ago, aren't there?
Yeah, right. So are we on to cool new stuff?
Yeah, what you got?
Google's PhotoScan app. Have you tried this, BL?
No.
It's fantastic. This is a free iOS and Android app that allows you to scan photos basically using your phone. It's you take a picture with the app, and then you take additional pictures that gives you little dots in each corner of the picture that you've just taken, and it snaps it 4 additional photos, and it stitches those pieces together to give you a really good photo. So it uses both the Google Photosphere technology and machine learning to understand what the pieces of the image are and stitching them together into giving you. And if you think about it, I mean, I've got a scanner, but it takes a long time to scan one photo comparatively to using a photo app that I can just take a picture of it and get a high quality whole out of it.
So wait, so you're saying you can edit the photo that you're scanning? Is that what you just
No,
were explaining?
you take a picture of it and then you point the camera at the additional dots that the app gives you in each corner of the photo, and it automatically snaps photos of those parts of the photo you're trying to scan and stitches all 5 pieces basically together to make it a actual quality scan.
You'll put an illustration of this in the show notes, right?
I'll try and find a video for it, yeah.
Yeah, because that sounds kind of cool, but I don't quite understand it. I found 6 Google Chrome extensions for writers, and so I will put a link to those in the archives. And oh, you have a bunch more.
Yeah, so another one. You read stuff at Forbes.com, BL?
I do.
I do quite a bit actually, and the annoying splash screen that gives you the quote of thought of the day or quote of the day and everything, and
can you get rid of that?
You can get rid of that. Somebody was so annoyed that we went out and developed a Chrome extension that bypasses the splash screen. So all you do is you go there and you install it on your Chrome. I think you have to restart your browser after you install it, but then you go to Forum, no more splash screen. It's awesome.
That's funny. There's something new. It looks like a broken screen that comes over your whole screen, and then if you click to get rid of it, it brings up another ad. It's horrible. I mean, does anybody, do I know what product that was? All I was trying to do was get rid of it. I mean, why interruption advertising still exists is beyond me.
Yeah. There's a big market in blocking ad apps too, so there's that. Lastly, this is pretty cool. on now is a pre-Black Friday sale at Udemy. So Udemy is one of the most popular places for online education. They have courses that you can buy, and they are slashing their prices, basically. Courses starting at $12 per course today. Prices go up every other day until Black Friday. I've already bought 33 courses.
Yeah, they say Udemy, by the way, but
Is it Udemy?
yeah, Udemy. But I bought a bunch too, and never looked at any of them. So I hope that you do look at yours.
Yeah,
And
I will.
sometimes they're $3, and sometimes they're free. They're always having a sale, but there's some really excellent stuff on there.
Yeah, and you get lifetime access to the courses too, so it doesn't matter whether you don't watch them right away.
Right, which I don't.
I don't expect to watch all of them right away either. So that was a key selling point for me.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this up with the daily numbers. So this is how native ads are labeled. This is from a Media Radar study. The labeling that advertisers use for their native advertising. 54% of the ads used sponsor or sponsored as the labeling. 12% use promoted. 6% uses presented by. 5% used provided by. 4% said brought to you by. 3% said partner content. 2% said content by, and then 12% had no label at all.
Ooh,
which is
bad.
Horrible. Absolutely horrible. People don't mind advertising unless it's interrupts you, like pop-up windows and stuff like that, but people don't mind being advertised too, as long as they know that they're not being hoodwinked into seeing it. So,
well, I have sponsored posts on my blog, and I make a pretty nice income by running them. And they say sponsored posts on the top and the bottom, and they have only one link to the client. And, you know, I make sure that it has some kind of connection to what I write about. But, yeah, most people don't. And there are some of these companies that are asking to have promoted posts that insist that one of their terms is that you don't identify it as such. And I'm like, go away, you know.
Yeah. The keys are relevance. It's got to be relevant to the platform you're trying to advertise on. Quality content. It can't just be advertising. It's got to be actual quality content. And 3, making sure it's clearly labeled as sponsored content so people know what it is.
Well, there are rules about that. I mean, there's FCC rules about that, and I really do hope that they crack down on people who don't identify the content as what it is, because that's just wrong.
Yep.
Wrong. So that brings us to the end, yes?
It does indeed.
Okay, well, this was episode 165 of the Beyond Social Media Show, and we'll have links to everything we talked about on our blog, thebeyondsocialmediashow.com, and we'll have the video, and it will be timestamped so that you will be able to click directly to any segment you're particularly interested in. David Erickson is... oops. Okay. David Erickson is on Twitter as @DErickson. He blogs at eStrategyBlog.com, creativepr.com/blog, both of which are terrific. You really should have them in your mailbox because he's just really, he's great at finding stories. I am on Twitter as @What'sNext. I blog at what'snextblog.com and also pawfun.com, which is my pet blog, and I run a company called maximum-plus.com for social video, and you'll find the show on beyondsocialmediashow.com. On Twitter, we're at BS Media because we try not to take ourselves too seriously, and we're on YouTube, and we are here every week, and we're a special time tonight, but we'll be back Thursday. Oh no, we won't be back. It's Thanksgiving. We'll see you after Thanksgiving, Thursday at 8 p.m. And right now, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.